Comment your thoughts. Oh, damn. Yeah. Final score, I think the Saints 71 to Geelong 85. Although, to be fair, when Cameron snapped that goal at the end, I got up and slammed a few things and was pretty upset. So, might have missed a goal. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, that was tough. I want to say that I'm proud of the team, but at the same time, I'm just really upset that the season's done. And I was hoping if it was going to be done, it was going to be done by other results going against us for the rest of the year. But turns out it's already happened mathematically. I think it's pretty much done. We gave it our best shot for the most part of the game. I thought in other parts there were chances to take. There was times to go fast. There was times to take the game on. And, for a good portion of that second half, we just let Geelong dictate the game. And if you watch my preview, if you did watch my preview, you would have seen me say that if the game's on the deck and we're playing on and there's handball receives and we're hitting up players and continuing that wave football, that the game would be on our terms and we would have a chance to win. And in the first quarter, that's exactly how it went. It was all us. That was Saints footy to a T. That was our best quarter of football for the year, I really think. 5-1, we kicked until they troubled the scoreboard, and they kicked a couple late. And again, that was probably the downside of that quarter, was the junk time goals. And I really wish that we could fix that, because too many times we give teams momentum going into the next quarter, and you want to kill them at that point. King was outrageous. Jack Steele was, I think he had 13 or 14 touches in the first quarter alone. He had 20 with 11 minutes to go in the second quarter, and he finished with 30. He was on track for 50. So I don't know if they tagged him out of the game or something changed, but even in the last 10 minutes of the game when we were only a couple of points down, he was on the bench, and for a fair portion. So I'm a bit confused as to why he found himself on the bench. It's such an important part of the game, but his influence being quelled in that second half really did stop us. We couldn't get clearance, and the game completely flipped on its head, and it panned out the way that I really didn't want it to, because that's the way that Geelong like it, and it's uncontested, it's chip around football, it's hold possession until a forward leads up, and when they were bombing, we were doing well. We were rebounding, the ball hit the deck, and that's when we could run. But when they chip it around, when they get to caress the ball and control the field, that's when we went to water, and we didn't know what to do. And I was really upset that in the last quarter, when I thought we were just going to revert back to fast footy and to try to take the game on, that we just let them piss away the clock for at least 2 or 3 minutes, especially in that passage where they've just switched it around the forward 50, gone from Stanley faking a shot on goal to flicking it all the way to the other side where I think Henderson had it, and then they bomb it, and Seb Ross is just watching the ball as Danger goes for it, and Danger marks it and kicks a goal to put them, I think, 8 or 9 points up. So there was a lot to like about this game, because it was a winnable one. It was a game that we could have won, and we could say that about last time, but for whatever reason, we let the team come back into it. At 5 goals, 1-0, you really want to be able to win these games. You don't get many head starts like that against top 4 teams like Geelong, especially away from home. And once King went off in that first quarter, for that time that he was off until he came on, I think they kicked 3 goals straight and were back in the game. And then he comes on and we stabilised. Membry kicked a couple of goals, and I think we got back out to a 20-point lead. But by that point, I just felt like the game was, even despite us kicking goals then, the game was still on Geelong's terms. It was still dictated by their field position, by their kicking. And in that third quarter, all the stats were there. They had like 21 uncontested marks. They had like another 50 to 60 more possessions. They completely controlled the game after pretty much quarter time. So for us to be 2 points down late in the game and with the chance to win it was a credit to us, because there were times where I thought Geelong were just going to run away with it and we'd kick a goal. Brad Crouch bobs up and kicks important goals. Sharman, again, showed a lot, and he was more physical and he showed that he's got more strings to his bow than just lead up footy. And there were times where the ball was on the deck, he was pressured heavily, and he'd get a quick handball out and we were away. So there were some highlights there, but then there were also some lowlights. And I hate to say it, but Seb Ross slowed us down far too much. Luke Dunstan had some pretty average disposals. There was one, I think, in the fourth quarter where he had an opportunity to go short, just wing side. I think Mackenzie was free from memory, or Sinclair, one of the two. And he tries to hook it across his body, kicks it to the wrong side of Marshall, and Geelong repel. And I can't remember if they scored or not from that, but it was just the decision. He picked the worst possible option, and it was such a critical point in the game. And, Brad Hill had a couple of mistakes in the second quarter, I think it was, that turned over and they kicked a goal. But, yeah, it's just that danger. They had the class that just rose to the top, and our class was Steele in the first half. And then after that, we didn't really have that finesse. We didn't have that player that could break the lines and could hit a target. I think the only one that really comes to mind for me was Jack Sinclair, that he just tried hard all day. His kicking was great, but we just left it to, too little too few again. And once King was, controlled, and I mean, it was probably more to do with the fact that he was a bit sore and he went off for a lot of the game, and he got through it, but it was probably more as a decoy, if anything. It just stopped us completely. We relied very much on King in the first quarter, and when King's on top, he's the distraction, and that brings in Sharman, brings in Membry, brings in Kent, Butler, Higgins. They got some goals when they needed to, and that was because the focus was on King. But when the focus wasn't on King, because Geelong knew, well, he's hurt, he's not 100%, they could rely on just kind of defending one-on-one again and not double-teaming King, because that was benefiting us. When they were double-teaming him, we had numbers everywhere, but when they played man-on-man, the game completely changed and went back onto their terms, and we didn't know what to do. Possessions-wise, Steele led it, as we expect. He had 30. Dunstan, I think, was the next... Crouch, I think, was the next best with 24. And then Dunstan. But, yeah, outside of that, there were a few little battles along the way that I thought were good. It was great to have Dougal Howard back. There was some critical moments in the game where he was, I think, defending Radigalia, and then he left Radigalia and punched the ball before Cameron was going to take an easy easy uncontested mark, and I thought he threw himself at the ball all day. We didn't expect him to be back at this point, so for him to be fit and to play a game like that, I thought was critical. I thought Wilkie's first half was really important, and that backline stood tall. Caulfield was a bit quieter. It would have been nice to have had Highmore, to be honest. I think Caulfield and Highmore work well together, and when they're isolated on their own, I think they aren't as impactful on the contest. Joyce did his job as much as he could, but overall, I think Geelong they didn't look worried when they were 31 down. When we're 1 goal down, we shit our pants. And that's what happened. When the pressure was on, we found ourselves behind for the first time in the game, I think in the fourth quarter or late in the third quarter. And from that point on, we just went defensive-minded. And we're at our best when we take the game on. We're at our best when we run and we gun and it's all or nothing football. I've said this a million times. We are not good at defending. We are good at attacking. The best form of defense is attack for us. But when we tried to defend, we defended too much. All our forwards were sucked into the Geelong half. So anytime we got the ball, whether it was a free kick or it was a turnover or whatever. We had nowhere to go because all our forwards pushed all the way up to Geelong's half forward line. And King wasn't clunking like he was in the first half because he was sore. They just picked us off that way. And that's exactly the nightmare that I was having at halftime, that if this continues, we'll lose. And it continued, and we got what I expected, which was another L to the stats, and our season basically being not thrown away, but our season being taken away. So you can only blame ourselves for being in this position. This is more me just talking about the season as a whole, but we can sit here and feel sorry that we tried, and damn it, we're missing finals. But I've seen a lot of comments come through, and it's probably right, based on the fact that we're 30 points up again in a game and we couldn't win it. The fact that we've lost games to Carlton, to Adelaide, we didn't deserve to be in finals anyway. So the fact that we were still in with a shout was more to do with how shit the other teams around 8th and 7th have been more than us. Yes, we won 3 in a row after the bye, and we gave ourselves a shout. But then we lost 3 in a row, and then we lost 4 in a row now. We beat Sydney, which was great, and then we lost again. So next week's game, it might be important for Freo, so I hope we go into that with the intensity to win. Because we can't make it, but we can stop teams from making it. So if we can ruin Freo's season as well as our own, then that's great. But to be honest, guys, my throat's killing me after yelling at the TV. And I didn't want to bring it up. I might actually have a sip of water because I was yelling a lot today, and I'll tell you why. I'm not going to blame the loss for this, by the way. So anyone that comments and says that I'm blaming the loss, I'm not. But the umpiring was fucking terrible. This was exactly like last time we played them in round 9. Last time we played them in round 9, we tackled, we chased, we pressured, we did all that shit. And they throw it, they sling the shoulders, high tackle. I don't think I've watched another game, not as a Saints fan, just as a neutral, and heard how many, heard the umpires say, holding Geelong. I reckon I heard that at least 30 times. I don't know how many free kicks they got. Last time I checked, it was 20 Geelong, 17 St Kilda. It's not the reason we lost, but far out. Could they be consistent? Now, this is a review, so we get to review the team. Yes, the team wasn't good enough for long enough in Geelong. The class rose to the top. When it counted, danger took hold of us in the last quarter. And that was really the difference. And Hawkins, despite being quiet for most of the game, he had some really important parts of the game that he set up goals, he created space for other players, and they benefited, and it hurt us. But can the umpiring just be consistent for once? Firstly, the worst decision I've seen in a long time was Jack Steele getting a free kick in the centre of the ground at an important point, I think in the second or third quarter. The umpires blowed the whistle. Everyone knows that it's a Saints free kick because all the Geelong players are defensive side, all right? And then Radigalia goes for goal and kicks it. Steele's face is priceless when you see that because he's like, that's 50. That's 100% 50. Or I think it was Mackenzie's tackle on Blixarves, or Crouch's tackle on Blixarves, and he drops it. Then Dunstan gets it. He's tackled pretty much immediately. He drops it. They pin Dunstan. It doesn't make sense. Umpires, I'm not blaming you for the loss. Obviously, it's all on us. I never blame the umpires for a loss. But that was some shit umpiring. That was shocking. And imagine if there was a crowd at Geelong. Could you imagine the treatment we would have copped? Imagine if it was a crowd. It would have been worse. So the fact that there was no crowd and the umpires still did that was shocking. They just let them do as they please. You know, the amount of times they duck, it just ruined the game for me. I'm happy to lose to a better team, but this is one reason why I hate Geelong. I hate them more than any other team. They get such a free run at it. At critical times in the game, when there's, it's either a free kick for us or for them, but the umpire has to pick them as a default. It just always happens. It's twice this year that that's happened. But that's not the reason we lost. The reason we lost is that we stopped playing our game and we started worrying about them. We are never good when we are so focused on shit. Who am I manning up on? Where am I supposed to go? Oh, they've got the ball. Where do we go? They're too busy worried about their opponent and worried about Geelong. We didn't give a stuff who we were playing in that first quarter. We just said, you're chasing us. See you later. You're going to try and outmark Max King? Good luck. We'll play to our strengths and we'll see if that's good enough. And that was good enough. Our strengths are good enough. But we went back into our shell. I said that in the preview. I said, if I see us go back into our shell, I know that the game's done. I know that it's over. And we went back into our shells, and it's so much harder. Once you start getting defensive, it's not as easy as click your fingers and you're back on the attack. It's not. Especially when you see a team like Geelong peppering and getting the ball and getting chances and hitting the front. The second they hit the front, we're thinking, okay, shit, we need to make sure they don't get further ahead. But I want us to think we need to get the next goal to hit the front. And we did that once or twice, but really for the most of that last quarter, it was just, I just had a feeling Geelong were going to win. I knew that I was going to, 80% of my gut feel was I'm going to come on, I'm going to do a review, and I'm going to talk about how we tried really hard, but at the end of the day, Geelong won. And that happens far too often. We need to start learning how to beat these teams. Until we beat Geelong, we won't win a flag. We won't make finals. We need to learn to beat Geelong. Last year, they killed us. Earlier this year, we should have pantsed them. We couldn't kick straight. Tonight, we kicked straight, and especially early, get 30 points up, 31 points up, and we just couldn't get it done. And that's the tale of our season. We couldn't get it done when it counted. We won games when we didn't need to, and then we lost the games that were really important. Milestone games, games to make the 8, games to cement a position in the 8. You could go on and on and on. But the games that didn't matter were the games that we won in the end, and that's why we're going to hover between 9th and 12th. That's the no man zone, no man land sort of area. I don't know why I'm doing that. It doesn't make any sense. It's putting in a light bulb for some reason. But it was just really frustrating. So that's my thoughts. I'm just gonna go through some of these comments. I'm pretty frustrated, guys. And then I've got fan cams after this. So if anyone wants to join fan cams, DM me on Instagram or Facebook, and I'll send you a link. There's a lot of people that I'm sure will want to come on and talk about the game. So if you don't get a link, don't take it personally. It's just that there'll be a lot of other people on it as well. All right. Let's go with Raphael. Need to drop Dunstan for Vital. He's too much of a liability. Look, I don't think we need to drop him. Give him next week. If he performs really well, it might justify keeping him, or what I think we're doing is giving him minutes so that he can get in front of as many coaches as possible, as many recruiters as possible, and let's see if the team bites. That's exactly what I think we're doing. So I think Vital understands that he's going to get a run at it in the next 2 to 5 years ahead of Dunstan, because Dunstan won't be there. So Vital will get games. So don't be frustrated that he didn't play today. Just know that I think we're trying to sell a player, as in just trying to advertise him to other clubs, trying to get the best trade possible. And right now, I think that's why he's ahead of Vital. That's probably the only reason. This one's from Ryan. Jake, seriously, forwards taking their eyes off the ball and charging into defender is ridiculous. # only Geelong. That Hawken, that was a joke. The ball is here, the man's there, he's looking there. And he bumps him. He doesn't go for a mark or anything. That is, by definition, that is a free kick to us, And they didn't pay it, and I think Hawkins kicked the goal off it. It came back to him, he snapped it, and he kicked the goal. It was a joke of a decision, not the only one that was paid against us today. Yes, 100%, mate. Although I think for the first half, scores from turnover, we conceded 0 and we kicked 4-1. That was in the first half that I saw that stat. So we conceded turnovers late in the game, but Geelong also did too. So it was pretty level by that point on scores on turnover. But they did cost us some really, really important goals late in the game. That Dougal-Howard switch, just go down the line, Dukes. He's switching it to Wilkie on, I think, Cameron, and we concede that, or Wilkie on Hawkins or whatever, and we concede that goal to seal the game for them. we just did some silly things at some really critical times. This one's from Matt. Bear with me. You can't even see me because it's that long. 5 goals up, 0 plan B when things don't go our way. To be honest, the score flattered us in the end. Geelong dominated after quarter time. Just a rubbish season all round. The club is now in a middling stage with a list not good enough to challenge the best and a fan base 100% not ready for another rebuild. Brad Hill all smiles after 9 touches all night really sums it up. Also, Reece Stanley dominating Rowan Marshall wasn't a sentence anyone should ever type. Seb Ross surely needs to leave, I'm sure is what he said. Yeah, some fair points there. We're in a tough position because you're right, Matt. We are not ready for a rebuild, nor should we go for one. We're not an old list. Geelong are going to be doing a rebuild sooner than us. This is their last year to win a flag, and then they're done. They got aging players, and they're still their best players. Our best players aren't our old players. That's the thing that you can take from this year. Burns, I thought we missed Connolly's run today, but Sharman showed something. King is going to be a superstar, if not already. It was just one of those games that we just didn't have the class to really get on top when it counted. They did. Hawkins lifted, Danger lifted, even Selwood lifted, and I hate giving Selwood credit. So it was just one of those days, and we have too many of them. Too many of those days. And you're right. Marshall lost that battle. I did not expect Marshall to come into this game losing to Reece Stanley when he just towed up Tom Hickey last week. I thought he was going to thrive, and he didn't get his hands onto it around the contest. And the big loss was he didn't take marks around the ground when we needed him to. And that hurt us because we needed an outlet with King being down for a lot of the game, and we couldn't get it. And Membry, he did his best, but he's not that type of player compared to Rowe. And Rowe does that best defensively, gets in front of the forwards of the opposition and takes marks, but he also gets around the ground and goes forward. But without Ryder there, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't have that flexibility. Dunstan, Ross, Kent, Billings, to name a few to go. Hill was pathetic tonight. So many of his direct opponents finding space forward was terrible, not defending enough. Is that really his fault, though? He's not a defender. I think we need to put him back to the wing. He's not a defender. It's not going to work. He's too attacking-minded. That's like putting me in defence. I would hate it because I want to get and go and run. I don't want to worry about conceding goals. That's not my go. His job on halfback is great when the game's open and we can play our way. But when it gets to the way that Geelong are playing it and making him accountable, we need to move him. But I don't think Rats moved too many players. We really stuck to the position of the first quarter and we didn't alter too much, which was to me the downside of this game was that when Geelong got it on their terms, we didn't really adjust. When we had it on our terms, Geelong adjusted, but we didn't. They were missing Tom Stewart, 2 in the back line, and we didn't pressure them enough in the forward half to get those goals after quarter time, which, you've got to do that against Geelong, especially when they're missing their most important defender. Yeah, Christina's got it in perspective here. It's okay to miss finals. We kind of had this feeling from most of the year after that Adelaide loss in particular. Let's hope for a good finish to the year. And yeah, that's Freo next week. So we'll see what happens. But we're all going to feel a bit down for the next couple of days. I know I will, because I really wanted to get the champagne out at least once this year. But it looks like it's going to have to wait until 2022. This one's from Thomas. Hi, Jake. I'm a little disappointed in the umpires tonight. However, the Saints did their best and Geelong are not shit. It's okay, Saints. We tried. Yeah, I mean, you got a point, Thomas, but at the same time, I think some people are going to be wanting a bit more, and rightly so. We were tipped to be top 4 this year, but we've had bad injuries. We've had some tricky fixture, but, I really wanted to beat a bogey team this year, and I think we've pretty much lost to most of the teams we beat last year. So we've reversed that again for the worse, and Geelong got the better of us twice again when they did last year, and we still haven't beaten them since 2016. So the one team I really just want to get over, but we just can't seem to. There's just a mental block. Anytime we get close to beating Geelong, something always changes it and we lose. This one's from Jay. Honestly, honestly, as you said, Jake, said earlier, Jake, they never really got going all season. Hopefully, this season are full of lessons they learn from. Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope this is a learning year. Last year um, was just an exciting year. We just kind of came from nowhere. This year, I hope we learned how to be a top team, learn what it takes to be a team that plays finals. Because right now, we haven't done enough this year to deserve to be in a position to play finals, and we got what we deserved in the end. It would have been lucky if we had made finals. Oh, and I'm not saying that. It's a fact. Even if we had won both games, we needed luck in the other games to win, and it doesn't matter now. So it kind of takes the stress out. If anything, I would have been looking at other fixtures and worrying about, what's Essendon doing, what's Freo doing, what's West Coast doing. But now it's just like, oh well, focus on Freo next week. I don't care about any other result. Get stuffed onto that, and then onto the trades and see who we bring in, and most importantly, who leaves. Because I think there's going to be a lot of movement out of Moorabbin, and we'll see what comes in. I'll go through maybe one or two more, and then we'll wrap it up, and I'll hop on to fan cams. Oh, so what do we got? Let's go Stephanie. Disappointing we missed, but I think this ultimately helps us. I don't think this has been a wasted season because it's shown that there are cracks and holes that need to be filled. Absolutely. I think even today, just watch this game. Watch in the last 10 minutes and watch when we get the ball and what player gets the ball and what they do with it versus what Geelong do with it. And that's the reason we lost, and that's the reason why Geelong are playing finals again and we're not. Because Geelong have a system, they play it every week, it doesn't change, they back it in even when they're 5 goals down, they trust the system to get them back into the game, and guess what? It does 9 times out of 10. They dropped a game last week, playing Geelong on a rebound was always going to be tough. They don't lose too many in a row in general, and especially not at GMHBA. The fact we found ourselves 31 points up, I thought was because we played scintillating football, and then Geelong woke up to it, adjusted, took the ball away from us and said, well, you can't do anything to us if you don't have the ball. And that played it into their hands. We got defensive. The second we got defensive, they can press up. The field changes and they get more field position, and it put them in a really good spot to start kicking goals, and that's what they needed to get back into the game. And the game, unfortunately, panned out exactly that way. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Nice, short and sharp, 28-minute review. I appreciate everyone from watching. The review is going to be up on YouTube, so feel free to watch it again there if you've missed some of it. The podcast will be out on Tuesday. Marshy and Joycey will obviously be on, and we'll be dissecting this game and previewing the Fremantle game. And right after this, well, maybe in 5-10 minutes, once I gather who is on for fan cams, I'll be on that. It won't be live, but you'll be able to watch it on YouTube in a couple of hours when it's uploaded there. So stay tuned for that. But I'll leave it there, guys. It's really disappointing. I think I put on more of a brave face when I get on here. But really, if you were in my house watching me watch the last quarter, and particularly when Cameron kicked that goal, or even Danger before that, yeah, I felt pretty upset. So it's a tough one to take, and I hate the fact that Geelong has stuffed another season of ours. They've done that too many times before, but hopefully this is one that we can learn from, another loss that we can learn from, but more importantly, a bloody year that we can learn from, because I think this is probably one of the last straw in terms of inconsistency. Because next year we expect the injured players to come back, and we expect a lot of other players to play better. So I think we're going to have high expectations, and we already have them, so they're going to be even higher next year. But I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If anyone joins on fan cams, looking forward to it. We'll chat more about the game there. But I'll let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Thanks for watching, guys, and go you mighty Saints. See you guys.